good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode 251. This is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. But before we get off the show, I want to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/PS This Is Awesome. You can visit us on Twitter. And if you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PSN, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at jakesaw01. As always, you can write the show at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. Most importantly, don't forget to share the show with your friends. Make sure you leave comments, rate this podcast as you see fit. And as a reminder, we are a video podcast as well, so you can watch the show on YouTube if you prefer. Make sure you subscribe to that. And for new and or long-time listeners, we have a Patreon. You can support this podcast for $1 a month. And the level is called the One and Only $1 Club. Head over to www.patreon.com/PSThisIsAwesome, and you can become a $1 patron. We will mail you a free die-cut vinyl sticker and give you a shout-out on the show. With that out of the way, Jake, how are you doing today, good sir?
Oh, not awesome. We put up the Christmas. We traditionally put up our Christmas ornaments and trees and everything the weekend after Thanksgiving. And I have a tendency to drink cocktails while we're doing it. And I had a couple too many last night, so I'm a little bit...
We're just a bunch of drunks at PS This Is Awesome, I swear.
A little bit, yeah, I don't know. Prickly is not the right word this morning, but my brain feels a little bit under siege right now.
Well, if you don't mind, maybe I'll... do all the heavy lifting for you today. Yeah, very good. Yeah. Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. We went down to Pittsburgh to stay with the wife's sister, so my sister-in-law and brother-in-law's place. And we had a nice time. We actually played Clue. That's the first time I've played Clue for the first time in a long time. I always remember Clue being way more confusing as a kid growing up. It's a game of deductive reasoning, right? You listen to what other people are trying to guess, and if they're guessing if it's something, then you know that they don't have those cards either, which means it's probably that. But then as a investigator, you can also throw red herrings out there and be like, yeah, it was Colonel Mustard with the rope in the observatory, and then you're like, I'm holding all three of those cards, so to make everyone else think, well, what the fuck? Mate, Fred doesn't have those cards. I don't. Because if I have them, no one else has them. So then they're like, oh, shit, maybe that's what it is. So they got to make sure, So you can really fuck with people in Clue. It's fun. I lost. And technically I would have come in first, but someone beat me on the circle, the way that the turn order goes. Some certain information had come to light, as the dude would say. And whatever the hell movie that is, I can't even think right either. What the hell movie is the dude in? God,
are you talking about The Big Lebowski?
Yeah, the dude from the Big Lebowski. He's like, well, certain things have come to light, man. So certain things had come to light in the circle of Clue, and it didn't make its way to me in time. But it was Mrs. Peacock in the lounge with the candlestick. But yeah, so that's a fun game. It's a fun little game. In fact, it gave me some ideas. We have a version of Clue here at the house, but all the Clue tokens are just little like tokens. I bet you I could find Clue characters and 3D print them, and that would just make the game so much more fun. I think, for me at least. Anyways, so did that. Hope you guys had a nice Thanksgiving. I'm vegetarian, of course. I got to try a couple new different tofurkeys. Tofurkey sucks. I'll just say that right out of the gate. They're the tofu turkey that Tofurkey makes is absolutely disgusting. I will never eat it. But Crystal lives down in Pittsburgh, Crystal and Edward, and they got their hands on the Field and Roast vegetarian turkey, which actually was really, really fucking good. And they also had a Trader Joe's turkey with stuffing, and that wasn't nearly as good. But Field and Roast, I think, is what it's called. If you're a vegetarian and you need to try a new turkey because the Tofurkey one sucks, 100% you need to go Field and Roast. That's my suggestion. Anyways, that's just a little inside trading for the vegetarians in the world that don't listen to the podcast probably. On top of that, Jake, my voice might sound a little haggard. So we are we have until the 30th of November to submit this song for the CyberPunk game, the DLC. For those who don't know, CD Projekt Red is accepting music submissions for the DLC for Phantom City or Liberty City. I don't know. It's not Liberty City. It's something else though. It's I think Phantom is in the title. But they have a new radio station that's going to be featured in the DLC called Growl FM. And if you go to the CD Projekt Red site, they have a submission form, and it has to be submitted no later than 11:30. So we're recording this podcast on the 27th. I stayed up till about 11 o'clock last night, and I missed an opportunity to play Warzone with LJ because he invited me. But I was down here screaming my ass off into the microphone, trying to make like a Refuse / Samurai sounding song that I pretty much had the riff written for a long time, and it was a little too heavy for one of my land or any of my musical projects. And I just had no idea how to implement it. And then this opportunity came around, so I got this riff recorded, and then I put down some rough drums and bass and sent it off to Troy, and he worked his magic and threw some guitar licks on it. And he re-recorded the bass and tightened up the drums because he's better with that stuff than I am, and sent it back to me. And then so last night I sat and I was probably... The neighbors probably thought somebody was getting murdered over here because it was very screamy, and I was down in my studio just screaming. And the song, I can't believe how fucking good this thing turned out. I'm not even trying to toot my own horn. I had low expectations going in. I thought that Troy and I would be pretty capable of coming up with something. But it's a little outside of our genre, a little outside of our wheelhouse, but very impressed with what we came up with. The song has to be between 2 and 3 minutes. We hit 2:34, I believe, on the track. Right smack dab between right where they want it. And the vocals are in English, and it's cyberpunk themed. I dropped some cyberpunk terms, which is fun. I think one of the lyrics, something about deckheads and... net pigs and all kinds of stuff like that, and it's fan-fucking-tastic. Talk about being on the edge. Dwarfs, which is like endorphins, you got my dwarfs pumping. These lyrics are fucking in there, but I'm screaming them, so unless you have the lyric sheet, you're probably not going to know what I'm saying. But it's just a little extra chef's kiss on this song, is keeping it cyberpunk themed, which is what they want. So, and we're trying to come up with a name. So we're at a juxtaposition, and maybe the listeners can maybe offer some feedback. Maybe you can as well, Jake. But and again, I have no issue with this, but up until the point we either find out the song gets accepted or the song is denied, we're not permitted to share it. It can't be out there. So I can't put it on the podcast. And we also have to fork over full copyright. We just have to sign off on it. Now, Graham, we get $3,000 for it. It's something I would have never done before. I would have had no business writing a song like this, so it's a one-off thing. It's a one-time thing. I don't know how royalties would work if they use it in a commercial. I think I don't get any. I think it's just like I just sign it off, give it to them for $3,000. They do whatever the fuck they want with it. I think that's the agreement. But I'm not saying it's going to get picked, but if it does, I will be forever immortalized in a fucking video game, which is priceless to me. So I don't know. I think that's fucking rad. I really like the idea though. If this thing really, if we go fucking full tilt and they listen to this thing and they're like, yeah, this is fucking what we want, and it fucking makes Cyberpunk DLC commercials and shit, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I'm gonna be so excited. Because I don't know. But here's the other problem. So we have to submit it under a name, right? So I could put it under Fred Oakman or put it under Troy Mesereau or Fred and Troy. That sounds so stupid. So, like, when it comes up on the radio and they have the radio announcer being, like, if I'm just thinking ahead, like, if it gets picked, you want them to be like fucking, and that's another hot take from, you don't want them to be like Fred and Troy. That'd be so fucking lame, right? So when we submit it, we have to come up with a name, right? So I had this idea of this band name called Dead Make with 3s instead of E's, but then that's kind of taken for YouTube channel, so I think we're going to go Dead Take or Dead Taker or something like that, with written like, hackers would write it or something. But at the end of the game, if they pick it, I want to actually be credited with my real name. I don't want to say like fucking blah, 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 Dead Take. Because that's fucking nothing. It's a made up fucking thing. So like, these are bolts, nuts and pieces, little things that I'm going to have to try to figure out. But I'm confident that it's good. So it just depends on whether or not it's something they want, for this Growl FM. It's fucking rad. I want to share it with the listeners so bad, but I can't right now. Can't do it. And even like if it gets on the game, I don't think I can share it. I think they hold the rights to it if I agree to it. So they said something about making it available on YouTube, and that wouldn't be a problem. But as far as you're signing it off, man. It's weird. I've never done anything like that with my music before, but I think I'm all in on this because it's fucking video games. Jake, opinions, anything? You got anything on that?
It'll probably be like what they did with the fucking author of The Witcher, where it'll make gazillions of dollars and you'll be entitled to zero of it. And
I know
it won't really matter to you that it's in a fucking video game, because you'll find out that the royalties for that song are like $50 million and you didn't get any of it because
could you
signed
fucking
it over
imagine
for $3,000. And it's not like we're in Poland or where they can go back and get money for that. You're in America, bitch. So you sign the deal, you get fucked.
Get nothing.
But that said, if you could get a song in the game, it would be pretty fucking dope.
Could you imagine jumping in a fucking car, walking into like a fucking bar in CyberPunk and hearing me singing? Oh, it'd be so fucking rad. I'd lose my shit.
The only thing that it does suck is that you can't use your fucking name. Like it would just sound stupid. Yeah. It would just sound stupid.
Well, my name's fucking Fred. I mean, it's not really a badass name. If it was like fucking Blake or something that sounded badass. Horace.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's really, what do you do? I mean, I would have to imagine that even if
it's not gonna fucking get picked, let's be honest. But it could. Could happen.
But even if it got picked, I'm trying to remember the video game credits, how they do the music. If it says because like when you credit a song on an album or something, it'll say like the name of the band, and then it'll credit the writers of the song underneath of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would do a similar thing for this or not. It's kind of hard to say.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but it's fucking rad.
Pretty neat.
It's really rad sounding, and I couldn't believe I gave it 150% last night, and I'm not a screamer. I'm really not. I don't do that often. So last night my throat when I went to bed was so fucking sore, and I don't know how those guys do it. I don't know how they fucking scream into the mic every night. Like when I sing loud, but I'm singing like. I still am singing, you know what I mean? Like with One Up I Land, like it's a little sing-songy. This is straight up fucking screaming, and it's. I
think it's practice. I mean, it's like working out. It's practice. Yeah. Your throat gets used to it. I think the issue is that a lot of those people that do that, they end up destroying their vocal cords.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not like it's good for you.
No, it's terrible. I felt like they were bleeding last night. Yeah, I mean it was
like,
really.
Like I think I know that this isn't a band that you would necessarily be into, but you've probably heard of the band Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah.
And I may have the details wrong on this, but if you listen to like their first couple albums and then you listen to like their new stuff, the vocals are completely different because the vocalist wrecked his voice and had to have surgery.
Yeah.
So like everything sounds different now.
That makes
really
sense.
Weird. I mean, I can't imagine losing my voice like that, because you probably sound different when you talk and everything.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It would be weird,
dude. It was so fun recording it though. So at the very least, so the good news for the listeners is you'll hear it either way. Like you're just gonna have to wait a little bit. So if it doesn't make it into the game, I keep the copyright. I'll just fucking put it out there. You know what I mean? And we'll put it on the podcast, put it on Bandcamp, whatever. You guys can have it and listen to it, and know that we gave it our best. And if it makes a fucking video game, then shit, you're gonna have to buy the DLC and listen to it there. So that's just what it is. That out of the way, Jake. Everything else is good on my end, and I guess maybe we should get into the games that we're playing. So a weird thing happened to me. The weird thing is this: I started playing Warzone a little bit last week, and I talked about how I got into one match or two. And I just told you guys that I missed out on some Warzone with LJ and his friends. I think his brother-in-law plays, and some other friends of theirs. And we got in there. We had some really good rounds. It was a really nice time just playing with fucking people that you can joke around with and have fun with. And, like we talked about games that just consumed hours of our life, right? Dude, for Warzone 2.0, I have played more than I have any excuse to admit. And I need to get back to God of War Ragnarok. I have like 24 hours in God of War Ragnarok, and I still don't have the fucking spear. So I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Did I miss it? I have no idea. I know the spear is a weapon that you get midway through the game. I've got 20. I'm doing some DLC, or not DLC, but side quests in Ragnarok. But Warzone's something I can jump into and out of and not have to dedicate a ton of time to. Ragnarok is like one of those things where it's just like, I also like, I don't know that it was a crazy hot take for me to kind of say that it just felt like an extension of the PS4 game when my first impression, and like how I'm confused by the story. And I think maybe my lack of understanding of mythology makes the story less interesting for me. And the reason that these first party AAA PlayStation games are so attractive to me is that I have a love for story, and I don't really feel the pull to get into the God of War game after I shut it off to go back to it. Like, I'm not thinking about it when I'm away from it. I'm thinking about fucking Warzone and how I want to be first. I want to place first in Warzone one time. So it's weird. So I don't know if that makes God of War Ragnarok an unattractive game to me at this point, but it's long in the tooth right now, and I need to get back to it because Callisto Protocol's coming out in like a week. And I don't know where you're at with God of War Ragnarok or how you feel about it, Jake, or if your opinions have changed or if you're still 100% all in. I like the game. Don't get me wrong. I think it plays well. It's a great game. It's fun. But I think for me, the story just doesn't have its teeth in me. Jake, what are you playing?
I mean, I'm still playing the same things. I'm playing God of War and Pentiment at night. And, I mean, I still really like God of War. I'm realizing, I don't know if it's this game in particular or it's just me as a gamer, how I'm changing. Mm-hmm. But the combat, I can't remember all of the things.
I can't either.
That's like why I'm not ever going to be good at fighting games. It's why I never really am interested in a lot of these like moveset type games, is because you know what ends up happening? I use the fucking axe and I do the same 3 attacks over and over and over again. Unless the enemies dictate that I need to do something different. Like if I have an enemy where I have to use a runic arrow to weaken it before I can attack it or something like that, then obviously I use those types of things. But like, you know, you have all of these different attacks that you can do without using any of your like special abilities and stuff like that. So, and then on top of that, you have the ability, if you like have a special ability, you can upgrade it if you want to use your XP and all this stuff. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that God of War is this deep RPG or anything like that. My issue with it is that, like, when you talk about something like Horizon, the attacks, you know, you can get in your lane and you can sort of stay there. You pick sort of the armor styles that you want, the weapon styles that you want, and you can kind of play a certain way. And then, you know, all of the abilities that you're unlocking are for the most part just kind of like buffing all of your play style.
Yeah.
Whereas like in God of War, when you're like unlocking a lot of new combos and shit like that, and it's like, okay, well, now this is another thing I have to try to remember while I'm in combat, and 10 things are attacking me at once. It's like, it's not going to happen.
So it's like button like L1 and then square, circle, X for each of your weapons, and each of your weapons have a recharge. So if you run out of your special moves with the blades, you can switch to the axe and they'll be fully charged, and you can battle back and forth between the two. And then your fucking characters that are off in the distance that you can loosely control have fucking moves and different skill sets, and it's just like, it's cool. But you're right, man. I can't remember that shit either. And I just end up doing the same fucking whirlwind attack and like smash the ground attack and just let them recharge.
So I will occasionally try to utilize different things.
Yeah.
But the problem is that so often you get in these arenas where you're battling, where you're just under pressure from all sides and you're constantly dodging and shit, and you don't have time to really think about trying this new combo.
Mm-hmm.
And the game is hard enough, and I'm doing like a tank build. I'm not doing like a damage build. So I've got a shitload of defense, and I still die really easily on main or regular difficulty or whatever the hell they call it, normal mode or whatever. So like, it's just, I don't know if there's an arena. I think there is an arena in this game, but it's like it's not like a practice arena. It's like a, I think, right? It's on Niflheim or whatever. There's an arena.
It's where the crow tree is. It's that area. Mm-hmm. Wherever that is, I forget what it's called. Like Odin's fucking tree with all these birds. Like before you get to it, it's on the left. You can go in there and dick around.
But I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at is I don't know if you can go in there and just like against one enemy just practice these moves, or if you have to like, if it's like you drop in and it's like round one and you just like keep fucking going until you die.
Right.
Like I don't know what kind of deal that is, but I'm not the story's fine. I think the story's pretty decent, honestly. I do feel a little bit of fatigue with this like branching narrative kind of thing that Sony's been doing recently with a lot of their games.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to really get into it with because I don't want to spoil anything for the game because it's pretty fresh. But I do like gameplay wise what they've done with like the way with the game. But I don't know. It's just having. I don't want to say anymore because I don't want to spoil it.
No, that's fine. We'll have a spoiler cast on it. Yeah.
I do still really like it.
How many hours do you have in right now?
Just shy of 20, maybe 18 or something like that. So, I was just looking I just pulled it up on howlongtobeat.com.
Yeah.
And according to them, the average completion time for just the main story is 24 hours. And main story plus extras is 36 hours, and completionist is 50 hours.
Okay.
So that's kind of what they show. Now they do say that like, I would put myself under maybe the main plus extras kind of camp, because I'm not going to do all the side quests and shit. I just do the ones that look interesting to me. And like, because I don't have the desire to do the side quest for the fucking ghost that needs you to collect like 3 different thingies. Like that's just not interesting to me.
Yeah, I did it all.
But if you say like main plus extras, so let's just say the main story plus a bunch of the side content, they say the rushed pace is 27 hours. The leisurely pace is 52 hours.
What?
Which gives you the average of 36 hours.
So for me, it's probably going to be, I have at least another fucking 15 hours of this game. Which I'm not complaining, but it's just like, Jesus, I don't know, man. Sorry, I'm making a fucking mess of it. I'm trying to light a candle.
I could stand for... I'm not saying that I'm ready for the game to be done, but I feel like it's okay if it's a little bit shorter, if that makes any sense. I would be fine with it being a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
Just because, if it was like this branching RPG, I would expect it to be 50 hours. Like Horizon or something like that. But it's not. It's a relatively linear game in God of War, and you're doing a relatively linear story. There's no real reason for it to be this, sprawling thing. Now, maybe some of the listeners would probably disagree. Maybe they prefer their games to be longer, and I could totally understand that.
Fuck, man.
When I was a kid, I always liked it when games were longer because I wasn't buying games all the time. But now it's like I don't play as nearly as much, so when a game takes 30 hours to beat, it's like that's like a fucking month of my life because
100%.
I only get to play like an hour a day most of the time. So it can be a little bit frustrating. But not to be too down on the game, I still really like it. The combat I think is so good. I think it's some of the best melee combat in any video game, to be honest with you. The issue is only, like I mentioned, and this is a personal problem, not a problem with the game. It's just I just can't remember all of the combos and stuff, so I end up playing it more button mashy than probably would be desired. I focus more on dodging and parrying and blocking and stuff like that than I do on actually like implementing all these crazy attacks and stuff.
I think the one thing that makes it a little easier with the attacks, like so you have runes and you can attach runes. And all those runes have special fucking abilities. And that's just when you hold down the L1 button, like the block button, and then you hit circle, triangle, or X, and it does a different maneuver depending on what you have slotted. So that's kind of fun because you don't have to remember a different combo. You just swap out the rune, right? And it does a different thing. So that makes it easy. So those are the only really special moves that I use. The regular attacks that you unlock in the skill tree, dude, it's like, oh, dodge away. And as you're dodging, hit X, and then the combos are like dodge towards and press this, or dodge, this way, or then it's like press R1, 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 do this thing, and after it's charged, press this combination, and then it'll do. But when you're getting fucking attacked like a barrage, it's just like, yeah, there's no way to remember what the fuck all those things are unless you're pausing it every time you take a swing at somebody to check the skill tree to learn how to. It's very clear with how it tells you how to do the maneuvers. They're all so similar that, like, to become an expert at it, it's like one of those things where it's like easy to play but difficult to master, right? Like that kind of thing. With the combat's difficult, but with learning the move sets, I think you can get a couple button mashing and just have them do some cool shit. But like, if you want to be calculated, you can, but it's going to take some fucking time.
Yeah, it's. I honestly think that there are some moves that are really useful. I think if you master the game, you could like wreck shop. If you master like the, because if you master the ability to switch between the Chaos Blades and the Leviathan Axe and be able to utilize that give and take with the fire and ice thing, you could fucking wreck shop. I just don't have the time or ability to really master all that stuff. There are some that I like to use, like the run and jump attack, okay. And I use I throw the axe a lot, and I'll use like where you hold down the L1 button and he like drags the axe through the ground and like throws the ice at him.
Yeah,
like there's like some stuff like that I'll use regularly, and I combine that with So parrying is really fun in this game, but I'm not very good at it. So I use the I don't know what they call the shield.
The shield breaker.
That might be the one where you like block attacks and it charges up as you block, and then you can do a shield slam and it like throws them all backwards.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of what I use.
Forgot about that one.
For my shield stuff. And there's one ability that if you can make it land that I really like, and it's the one where you Kratos will like, it's like a heavy attack where he'll like pull back and charge up his axe and then slam it into the torso of an enemy and then hurl them into another enemy and it'll explode. And it's like, it's cool if you can make it land, but the pause between where you charge up the attack is so long that you can only do it on stunned enemies because everybody else just dodges out of the way. So, but I do think that like when you can make some of these combos and stuff work, It's really, really neat. I do think that the Chaos Blades are a little bit more enjoyable in this game than they were in the last game, but they still really don't do anything for me as far as like the combat goes.
They're not as fun.
The axe is way more fun to use, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure there are people that really like the Chaos Blades, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with them. Like there are some cool abilities, like the ability to like spear an enemy and pull them towards you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
is really cool. And the ability to like charge up the fire and catch enemies ablaze and stuff like that is cool. But
yeah,
I don't know. There's just something so like viscerally like crunchy and satisfying about the axe that the blades just don't have. So anyway,
yeah.
I mean, well, like I said, we'll eventually do a spoiler cast on God of War. I'm gonna be honest. There's no fucking way I'm gonna beat this game before
Callisto
Protocol comes out. So I'm gonna have a choice to make on Friday whether or not I'm gonna just hang off on Callisto Protocol, or I have to. I gotta wait until I beat God of War because I'll never go back. So I'm probably gonna be a week late on Callisto Protocol. I'm guessing.
Now let me suggest something here that might upset some listeners. It might not upset listeners. Maybe they'll be more understanding. I think we have an understanding listener base. We chose the Harry Potter Lego collection for the PS Plus thing. Dude, with God of War being out and Callisto Protocol around the bend, like, do you want to shelf that for now and get back to it? Like, we'll still do it, but like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to play this game and talk about it next episode.
Yeah, I installed it, but I haven't booted it up. I think that we could probably say that the audience
would rather hear us talk about God of War.
I haven't played it, but I'm assuming the audience is gonna know what they're gonna get out of a Lego Harry Potter game. I mean, it's gonna be like a Lego game, I'm guessing.
Sure.
But I haven't played it, so I don't know that for a fact. I don't know. I mean, if anybody has an issue with it, or they want us for sure to play Lego Harry Potter,
talk about
then let us know, and we'll definitely sideline our other games to play it for a bit and talk about it. But I just wonder how much people actually care.
Yeah. Well,
about Lego Harry Potter.
The way I was looking at it was just that. It's just, and for the listeners who are just now jumping into the show and are new to the podcast, we try to pick a PlayStation Essentials game that comes out each month, and we announce it at the beginning of the month, and then we play it that month at some point. Maybe not the whole thing, maybe a portion of the game, maybe the whole way through, maybe not, but... And then Jake and I have a discussion the last episode of that month after we've had time to sit down with one of the games that we picked. This month was Lego Harry Potter collection, but we know we got God of War Ragnarok, and Jake and I are both really excited about the Callisto Protocol next month. So we're going to shelf, unless you guys have an issue, we're going to shelf the Lego Harry Potter collection talk. We may get to it next month. If not, depending on what the game selection is for December, I don't even know if we're going to do a December one because we have Callisto Protocol. I mean, like, we got to stay relevant. And I think part of the PlayStation Essentials pick that you and I were doing was just so that we could stay in touch with the listener base on a new game that was made available to all of us. If we are purchasing new games, what do you think, Jake? Do you want to get back to it in December, or do you want to just do Callisto, or should we shelf this till January? The Essentials?
I'd have to imagine that the listeners would be more interested in us talking about new games than talking about some game from PS Plus collection.
All right, sounds good.
But that's just my guess. I don't know that for a fact.
Well, let's go with that, and then when things start dying down, and we're looking for a game to play, Jake and I. So we're on the same wavelength, Jake and I. We're both playing God of War Ragnarok. We can have a nice discussion about it. Usually when we buy new games, we're not playing the same games, Jake, you and I. Or you'll buy one and I won't, or vice versa. The fact that we're both intending to get Callisto and we both have God of War, I think it makes the show a little more relevant. So let's stick with those discussions for now. But let's dive into some quick listener feedback. So last episode... We took a look at games that we had huge time investments in, and it was interesting to look at. And we asked listeners real quick to write in to let us know some of the games that have stolen hours from their life, right? So Jeff, a patron of the show, he wrote in, and both he and Played by Ken, and even LJ, I believe, gave us a well-earned congratulatory message. We got 100% correct on the PlayStation Plus quiz. They were very excited for us. And we'll do the bow. Yep. Thank you very much for the kind words. So thank you for listening and being a continued listeners of the show. But Jake, you got a nice compliment from Jeff also indicating you have a beautiful brain to remember all of the details from PS1, 2, and 3 eras. He's really impressed, and I would agree that you do have this ability to go into the Wayback Machine in your brain and just pull out some weird fucking shit and get some of these questions right.
Sometimes I get lucky, but sometimes it's just honestly like I think that thing last week was just it's like kind of like pulling the lottery a little bit, where like all of those questions, there's a couple that we guessed on and we got lucky on, but most of them were like just happened to be in the wheelhouse of something that either you or I would know. Yeah. And that doesn't happen very often, because there are like if you were to put our collective PlayStation knowledge up on a fucking wall, there would be huge holes in it. Just like on things like fighting games and you know.
But you had the Tekken question, right? There was a Tekken question last week.
Yeah, because it was, you know, they were talking about because it specifically referenced Tekken 3, which was like the only Tekken game that I got super into. So like I said, it was. But I appreciate the compliment nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, Jeff also indicated he thinks his hourly stats are somewhat inflated. He'll pause games. We'll put him in idle mode, and he thinks it's racking up. But he reported having a whopping 1,991 hours in the first Destiny. But he wanted to note this isn't all game time and truly consists of idle time. But his kids play Minecraft, and they've earned him 1,451 hours in Minecraft. But he takes the majority of the credit with Star Wars Battlefront 2 at 481 hours. And he's a man after my heart. The Witcher 3 at 468 hours. And we'll have some Witcher 3 news here in a little bit. And he did note that he might dive back into Wild Hunt for another go-round. List other games as well. And if you want to see the rest of Jeff's top 10, check out our Patreon site where he commented on
I have a
250.
So I have a thing to say to Jeff.
Yeah.
He says that he thinks that 1,991 hours of Destiny 1 is a little inflated because of idle time. I will admit that that's probably at least partially true, but Destiny will kick you off if you're idle for so long because it's an active service. So I don't want to hear that. Now, it is possible that maybe the game clock, I guess, you know what, that's probably true. The game clock probably still counts if it's just hanging out in the fucking main menu, which is kind of stupid, but bro, you gotta set up your PlayStation to shut off on its own, so this doesn't happen.
Well, maybe when it's going in rest mode, is that clock broken? When you go into rest mode, it still counts, or is that possible?
It shouldn't. It should only count when the game is running. But
man, that's awesome though.
How can we know? This list is like, we already established that it's not perfect, and even they did. So how can you know? But I definitely know people that have 2,000 hours in Destiny.
So you get credit. You get credit for them, as far as I'm concerned. You got them. They're on your list. And then Played by Ken. Played by Ken also wrote in, and I was going off about the calcium deposits in my tea kettle. I had already purchased a new one. I'm excited about it. But he did recommend using the CLR solution you can get from Home Depot or wherever. It's a calcium solution to get rid of some of that stuff. And I appreciated that knowledge. I didn't realize they had a specific brew of CLR for calcium deposits. So I did get it, and I used the 50-50 mix, but I didn't use it on the kettle. So we have our washer downstairs in the basement, and where it connects the water lines, a little bit of calcium around the top of it coming out through. So I used the 50-50 mix. Thank you very much. You little scrubber, took it right off. So thank you for the old info.
I will say, for those of you looking for some home advice, if you've never used CLR before, be fucking careful. That shit is caustic. So wear gloves and eye protection when you're using CLR, especially if you're using it in high concentrations. I used to use it all the time. I still like to use it for like shower fixtures, because like the shower head and stuff will get kind of crystally. Yeah. But I used to just literally like 100% CLR. No, I didn't cut it at all. And I would just spray it on the shower heads and stuff. And like, you couldn't even breathe when you were in the room
Jesus.
because of the vapors that come off of it. So like I would have to leave the bathroom door closed and open the window and shit, and it worked super good, but maybe not so hot on the old lungs, if you know what I'm saying.
Maybe not the best thing in the world for your lungs to be breathing in. Very, very, very good. Well, thank you for the recommendation. I did get some of that. And there are different versions of CLR, right? They have like the calcium rust deposit stuff, and then they have one that's just like super mega clean thing, and then they have different offshoots of, they target areas, they target things. But thank you so much. This is why we talk about home shit on the podcast, because once in a while we'll get a nice recommendation like that. So I appreciate it. Jake, what say we get on with the news for the week? You good with that?
Yeah.
All right. So rumor has it, Final Fantasy 16, the release date, is going to be announced at the Game Awards, as well as a reveal for the sequel to Star Wars Fallen Order, which will be Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This isn't confirmed, but
so when they say a reveal, do they mean like a gameplay reveal of it? I'm assuming.
Yeah,
okay, because I was gonna say the game has already been officially announced.
No. Like an actual, we can see it. There's gonna be the Game Awards. Is what all the kids are saying. So the Game Awards are right around the corner. They're gonna be held December 8th, 2022, and Final Fantasy 16 is still looking on track for a 2023 release. So this brings about 2 questions. Jake, do we even care about the Game Awards?
So I care specifically because there are so many first-party studios of Sony's that we have no idea what the hell they're doing. And I think the only thing that we know now is what Insomniac is doing with Wolverine and Spider-Man. We haven't had official announcements for literally anything else in the Sony first party.
Sure.
It's not been released.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that maybe they'll drop something like Factions or something like that.
I think we ought to wait till 2023 for Factions. I think they said that.
To talk about it?
Yeah, I think so.
You might be right. You might be right about that. But maybe they'll talk about one of the other fucking 5 projects that Naughty Dog is doing, or
anything. VR2 shit.
Or VR2 stuff.
Maybe we'll get
or
Half-Life
Ghost of
Alyx.
Tsushima 2.
Don't announce that.
Half-Life Alyx could be cool, although there's some speculation that might be a little bit of a dream at this point. I don't know if it's going to come or not. We won't know until we know, but it would definitely make me happy. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. There's no fucking way I'm going to watch it because this thing is it's just lousy with freaking ads
all
and
the time.
Bullshit and 10-cent stuff and all this. There's no fucking way I'm watching it, but I'll check out the recap.
Yeah,
for sure.
We typically don't make predictions on this show, on the podcast. I think it's kind of pointless to do that. I mean, I don't know, Jake. I mean, we could predict a couple things here and there if you wanted. I don't think it's necessarily even relevant at this point. We don't play enough games, probably honestly, to even have a fucking clue.
I would honestly say that in recent years, Xbox has been more active with Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards and stuff. So you might be even more likely to see some big stuff coming out of Xbox than you would out of PlayStation. Because for whatever reason, Sony doesn't feel like talking anymore, which is fine. I would rather not know until it comes out, but I'm just afraid that, a year's going to go by. They're finally going to talk about what they're doing, and then it'll be another 2 or 3 years before we get it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If they're going to say something, I hope it's something worthwhile and not like one of these please be excited moments where it's some shit that nobody cares about.
I hope they drop an awesome game.
I hope so too.
That would be sick. All right. Well, let's move on to this next news point, which is video game related, but also kind of moto related. So, often, Jake, we talk about motorcycles, non-gaming things as somehow incorporate gaming. A new post on Push Square indicates that both Sony and Honda have formed a relationship in which the goal is to kind of compete with Tesla. Part of the focus is to focus on technology, and they're hoping to have their first car available in 2025. In an interview with Financial Times, president of the new company, Izumi Kawanishi, indicated a focus is to build the car around content and utilize Sony's presence in entertainment, and quote unquote, adapting these assets to mobility. And then, so they're thinking maybe even putting a PS5 in the new vehicle. So I think the idea is that it's going to be a self-driving car that you can just fucking chill in and play fucking PS5. So it seemed fucking crazy to me. And it's Honda and Sony teaming up for a fucking PlayStation vehicle. Not necessarily a PlayStation vehicle, but like they're using, I think, Sony exclusively for the luxury inside the car.
Yeah,
what the fuck is going on?
I don't know about this. This sounds like a gimmick to me, because if there's one thing that we don't need in cars, it's a fucking PlayStation.
I agree 100%. So
we already have enough problems with people
texting,
being killed driving because of their cell phones. The last thing that we need is because I don't know if you know this, but technically Teslas are self-driving,
but they still fucking hit people.
They still tell you that even though the Tesla is self-driving, they still tell you that you should have your hands on the wheel and watch the fucking road the whole time the car is driving itself.
Yeah, dude, we're not
there
because
it's called assisted driving. It's not self-driving, because the problem is self-driving cars are still fucking killing people. so maybe in like 20 years we'll have like some kind of a network that'll allow self-driving cars to work safely and allow people to basically drive on rails essentially without having to worry about pedestrians and things like that. But dude, I don't know. The first thing I saw when you were talking about how they wanted to use the like cars but with content, it like something inside of me died a little bit. I don't really know.
Yeah, right. I know.
It's like, why would you want a fucking car with content in it? I just want to get to work.
Yeah, I'm not excited about it.
Maybe,
yeah. I mean,
like maybe for your kids, I guess. But at that point, like we already have that in cars.
I mean, I could see them using like a Sony screen and like maybe some fucking AR shit. Augmented reality shit Sony invents or something. Like maybe I don't even know. Like the fucking sound system is Sony or like, but fucking throwing a PlayStation 5 in a car, and it's like you might as well just be like, hey, go kill some people, right? Because like it just seems really dangerous. We're not there yet with technology. I'd like to think that we are, but this isn't fucking Blade Runner, dude. Like we're not fucking there yet. Slow your roll.
Pretty wild.
Ambitious, but I mean it's we're not there yet. Not even close. Let's get on to the next news point. This next one's kind of interesting. Some stuff has come up and this is kind of relevant to maybe loosely, not even at all actually relevant to what we're doing with music and games, but it's cool because we like to talk about music and games and that whole situation. So there have been a few instances lately, Jake, where people involved in the music industry who have integrated in and made scores for video games or have worked on video game music haven't either been compensated to what they felt they should have been compensated or given the appropriate credit. The most recent situation reported has been from Jessica Mao, M-A-O, and Jessica stated that she worked on the editing, arrangement, and implementation of the score during two specific scenes in God of War Ragnarok, but was saddened to see that she wasn't credited in the end credits. So the audio technical designer, Sean Laval, quickly responded on Twitter stating, quote, "I'm very sorry to hear about this, Jessica. I fully agree everyone who contributed to a project should be credited. It may indeed be too late, but I will definitely ask about this," end quote. So apparently Jessica was informed in order to be credited, you have to meet a minimum criteria of contribution to get on the credits. Also, she was informed the credits couldn't be updated in a patch. So that's kind of like giving her like two answers. Like it's like you didn't meet the minimum, but we can't update it. It's like
we can't update it anyway. Yeah,
it's almost like you can't update it, and you wish you could, or she just didn't meet criteria. Now, the audio technical
Well,
director thinks that, if you were involved at all, you should have your name in the credits, which I don't disagree with at all. Jake, go ahead.
I think that this has been standard in the fucking industry forever. So to me, it seems a little bit like maybe this person is kind of jumping on the wagon a little bit
the Doom
with all
wagon?
this shit that's happening with the with Marty Stratton.
But we haven't talked about this at all on the show.
With Doom and Mick. What's his last name? The guy that wrote the score for Doom. Mick Gordon.
Dude, I couldn't tell you. Yeah.
But like the thing with Mick Gordon is that like he literally wrote the whole fucking thing and wasn't getting paid for like a year at a time and all this shit. So, and we don't have to jump into that on this show.
Right.
But I don't know. The thing is that like if you credit every single person that laid a finger on God of War Ragnarok, those credits would be literally like 10,000 people long. And it's like, I understand both sides of it, where it's like, oh well, I don't know, I copy and pasted a file that ended up in fucking God of War Ragnarok, so I should have my credit in there. And it's like, okay, but what the real argument should be is what their minimum contribution requirements are.
Right.
If they're way too high, then that's an argument to be made. But I do believe that there should be some kind of like, if you only put like an hour of work into God of War Ragnarok, I don't know that you should necessarily be in the credits.
But I think that she probably put more than an hour in. I mean, like if the audio technical designer responded to her and saying, "I'm sorry to hear about this," he clearly thought that she should have probably been on the credits based on what she did for the game. So I'm thinking that they just missed it somehow. And it could have been a situation where she was contracted through a company to work on this, right? And maybe, because I know how a lot of this stuff works, are cue sheets. There's a good chance that the company that she was working for that got contracted didn't submit her name to Sony Santa Monica.
It's entirely, yeah. It's possible that it's something like that. I mean, it's also even possible that, in a very cynical way, you could say that this Sean Laval, the audio technical designer, responded in this way because he knew there was nothing he could do about it. So it just looks good.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's very cynical. I would hope that if this person, Jessica Mao, did do some significant work on the game, that she would be credited. I would certainly hope so. It's just one of those things where you see a story like this and it's so, it seems, I don't know if it's one of those things where like there was just so much of this. There's so many times in this industry specifically where something like this will happen and just people say, try to jump onto it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And say, me too, me too, me too, me too. And I don't mean that in literally like the Me Too thing, but like, I don't know. I just hope that if she did the work she said she did, and it was within, if it was within the requirements set down by Sony and Sony Santa Monica, then I would certainly hope that she would be credited. But if not, then that's there's a future argument to be had, but she was operating within the guidelines that were set out when she did the work. So
yeah,
it's kind of like a double-edged sword where it's like, like we were talking about earlier about how your music and how you won't be fucking credited, or you won't have any royalties even if that song blows up and sells 5,000 million copies or whatever.
It'll never sell it.
Because it's like, this is fucking America. You sign the contract, you get what you get.
Yeah, right.
And so like, I'm not saying I'm not saying that's good or bad or whatever. I mean, it just is what it is.
Sure.
So
to me, it's fucking bragging rights if I get in.
Yeah, maybe there's room
rad.
for change there.
Yeah.
But I do agree that there is like a thing here where like she can't even brag about being on the game.
Can't use it for a resume, right? Like
she's
portfolio.
Not in the credits. But like I said, it really does boil down to, if she worked on editing, arrangement, and implementation, if she just changed a couple of levels or something like that, then okay. But if she worked on it for like a few weeks or a month or something like that, then maybe she should be credited. But we can't know that for sure.
Well, we don't know. Yeah, you're right. We don't know. Well, let's move on to the next story. I want to apologize real quick for anyone watching and to you, Jake, as well. I got a text just now. My buddy Mike Fritz, who did the album artwork for My Gasoline Heart, My Record, was in town for Thanksgiving, and he makes his own mead. And I got a random mess from him. He goes, dude, we're on our way out right now. I have a bottle of mead for you. What's your address? And I was like, dude, I can't visit. I'm doing the podcast right now. He's going to drop it in the box. Anyways, sorry. I was distracted there.
Yeah,
I was with you, but I visually was fucking not paying attention. That was kind of I talk to Mike all the time, and he lives really far away, so I missed him. Anyways, it's next news point. The PSVR2 Finger Tracking looks absolutely stupid. I don't know how it does this. There's a video that surfaced of a player who's playing Call of the Mountain, and it's just ridiculous. Have you seen this video?
I have not seen it, no.
I should have linked to it. It is 1-to-1 perfect. Like, he's going like this and doing all the shit with his fingers, and it's doing it exactly in the game. I don't know how it's doing it. He must be like holding the fucking thing with his thumbs like this and just going like this, but there must be sensors that fucking can see your fucking fingers somehow. I don't know if it's sensors on the headset, sensors on the Move controllers. Fucking find the video and look at this. It's one of the weirdest things. It's on Push Square. It's one of the weirdest things. I don't understand it. Like, you literally could flip people off. Just go whoop, and it will know. 100% it'll know. Because, like, he's doing some weird finger movements, and it's tracking every little detail. You can see him in real time, and then in front of him is the screen, and you see the fingers doing the exact same shit. It's so weird. I don't know how you could utilize this. I don't know if they'll be playing piano in VR or anything, but it opens up the possibility, I think, the accuracy here. It looks stupid.
It is pretty weird.
I don't know how. Yeah, how's it doing that? Like, look, it's insane. I've never seen that before in VR. Definitely worthy of talking about. I don't know. What do you think?
It's just so funny watching this guy play this VR thing. He's just like, he is doing like it is really, really wild. I wonder how it works.
It's so accurate looking. Do you think it's the headset cameras looking at your hands?
I have no idea. How can you even know?
I don't know. It's impressive.
It's magic.
It is. It's really impressive. If you guys haven't seen the video, go check it out. I don't know if you have anything you want to comment on that, Jake. I just wanted to bring it up because it makes me a little more excited.
The one thing I will say, it's only tangentially related, is that I, in retrospect, kind of wish that I had pre-ordered the Call of the Mountain bundle rather than the just base PSVR.
Why is that?
Would have saved $10 on the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. But you would have had you would have had a physical game, right? Or does it come with a download code?
No, I'm pretty sure that there's no physical games for VR2.
Did you get the charging station for the Sense controllers?
I did not.
Me
I thought
either.
about getting it, but I don't. It's probably one of those things that I wish I would have got it because it's gonna fucking be gone and Sony won't ever make it ever again for some stupid reason. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I just kind of want to see how they work before I buy one.
Yeah.
If I've got to charge them all the time or whatever. Because
it's gonna suck to charge them one at a time. Is all.
Well, I get kind of weird about those charging stations because on something like PSVR2, you talk about a controller that you might not use maybe, I don't know, let's just say you use it once every few weeks, but they're sitting on that charging station the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the charging station is intelligent, you can ruin batteries by just keeping them on the charger constantly.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
So I would worry about destroying my controllers that way. I don't know. But I did it with my DualShock 4 controllers, but I was using them constantly. So I never had any issues with like them just staying on there being charged indefinitely. So I don't know. I wish I would have got it though.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
It's a lot of money though. I didn't really just feel like spending any more.
Way too much fucking money, dude. All right, so the next news point. This isn't even a news point. It's just a reminder. There's that AA game, Evil West. It's out now. Push Square gave it a 7 out of 10. They said it's really, really fun. Towards the end, it felt a little repetitive. I haven't played the game, but it looked really, really cool when we talked about it.
Yeah, apparently it's pretty good, and I have heard nothing but I don't want to say I've heard nothing but good things about it, but it looks awesome. So it's one of those games that like if I didn't have anything else to play, I would definitely jump in on it and play it because it looks really fun.
Yeah, the release window maybe isn't the best time for the company, just with Callisto and God of War coming out. But anyways, let's keep moving forward. So this is a no-brainer to me, and people shouldn't be surprised about this. But when asked about downloadable content for the latest God of War Ragnarok, director Eric Williams indicated it's probably not going to happen. It was in an interview with the Kind of Funny Games crew on their spoiler cast. And if I'm being honest, man, a game like this has to be such an undertaking that he's probably just fucking burnt out and not interested in even ever revisiting it. I feel the same way when I do music projects, but it is also, on the flip side, super important to note that God of War Ragnarok is the fastest selling first-party Sony game ever. So, do you...
like 5.1 million copies in the first week or something?
Yeah, so do you think that even though he has no interest in fucking doing this, that Sony's going to come down and say, listen, you got to come up with something. We're leaving too much money on the table.
I mean, I think Sony's usually pretty good about letting their teams do what they want to do, and they didn't do... I mean, the first God of War was, I think, Sony's best-selling first-party game ever. So, and with like 20-some million copies, and they didn't make them do a DLC for that game. So I don't know. But I also don't know how the story ends up either. Does it really necessitate any sort of additional content?
I can't speak to it. I don't know.
You know, maybe they'll do like some freaking battle arena shit or something like that, which I guess might be fun for some people. It's not anything that I'm going to go back and play. But the other thing too is that like you said, I mean, if they do it, by the time it comes out, I'll be completely over this game.
You know what they could do?
You know.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What they could do, you mentioned Battle Arena. They could do something like they did for Ghost of Tsushima and do like an online, almost like a zombie mode where all the different enemies slowly come in, and like one person can be fucking Kratos, one can be whatever, Atreus, one person can be Freya, one person can be one of the fucking dwarves, one person can be Zeus or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? You could all just be a character and battle off the enemies with their own movesets. I could see people getting into something like that, but that takes a lot of time, and I can't imagine putting the framework in place to do like an online thing for God of War. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. If they would do something, maybe something like that would work. But I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say. It worked in Ghost of Tsushima just because of the structure of that game. It was a little more open world, and you kind of had the ability to run around, and you could be a faceless kind of thing. And maybe you can come up with a mode in God of War where you could have like some faceless Norse god or something like that, or like nameless Norse god that you like design yourself or something. But I just don't know that it fits within the lore and like the realm. You would have to get outside of the characters of the game.
Yeah.
And you would have to just do something within the universe. You know what I mean? You couldn't do like a mode like that and include characters like the main characters like you were talking about without having it turn into like this Overwatch hero shooter type fucking thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. It would be kind of interesting to think about though.
Yeah.
For sure.
But for now, don't get your hopes up, listeners. Next news point is kind of right in my wheelhouse and maybe in Jeff's wheelhouse. CDPR, which is CD Projekt Red, have finally shown the next-gen Witcher 3 update. And while the game looks exactly as I remember it, they are offering a different camera mode, which zooms in a little tighter, makes it feel and look more like a third-person story game. Kind of like how I honestly think God of War's camera is a little too tight, but it does zoom in a little bit, and it gives a whole new vibe to The Witcher 3. However, upon a second review, it actually is a really nice graphical enhancement. While it still looks exactly how I remember the game, if you compare the two, there's some obvious updates, upgrades. I know they redid the grass, they redid some trees, they redid some fucking textures. They're doing the ray tracing, some other stuff. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested. And additionally, they have confirmed that really weird padded looking Nilfgaardian armor from the first Witcher Netflix series, it was like fluffy almost, is gonna be in the game. So
why not?
So what the fuck, man? I don't know. Unfortunately, it doesn't. I don't think we're gonna get a Henry Cavill skin. Although I think he would fucking lose his shit if he could be in the Witcher 3 game, because that game is probably going to be better than how the Netflix series ends up, because he's dropping off of it. We talked about that a few episodes ago, and whatever his face, Liam Hemsworth is taking over the role of Geralt in episode 4 moving forward, or season 4 moving forward. But we're getting Henry for one more season. Jake, is this something that you're ever going to go back to?
I would like to think so, but the problem is that The Witcher is just so much of a time sink. I didn't even come near to completing that game, and the story, I did a bunch of side quests and shit, but I didn't come anywhere near to completing the game, and that game still took me 90 plus hours to beat. So you're talking a huge time sink. I know that Sarah, my wife, would love to watch me play it because she really likes the Witcher books and the TV show and everything. But I don't know. I just can't. Like, it's so long. I wish I could almost just
it's staggering
jump right into it. But the problem is that like the combat, you have to learn the combat again, and it's. I mean, if I played it again, for sure, I'd be playing it on like the easiest difficulty, just kind of wrecking shop and running through the game, just because I think it's fun to be in that world. But I'm not going to sit here and struggle through the game again like I did the first time.
Well, let me say this. They did make an update to the map. So, like on the original map, you would see every fucking question mark on the map.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is fucking stupid. They have a way now to filter those out of the map. So you're not constantly gravitating towards those locations. Like on your way to do a quest, you'll see, oh, I'm fucking like 3 kilometers from the next fucking question mark. I'll just go do that real quick. And they said that this is an attempt to maybe help people get through the game a little quicker. And they don't, when they made this game, they said they didn't really expect people to fucking do them all. But the way that the map was set up is that some people couldn't not. And because of all the additional side quests, they feel that it prevented a lot of people from even fucking finishing the game. So they implemented this thing into the map where you can just have it not display the question marks. And if you happen onto a situation or onto a random encounter, which would be like a question mark, then you can fucking start that mission. You know what I mean? But they're still there if you want to see them, but you can turn them off. And I think I'm going to turn them off if I play this game again.
I wish that they would just, I mean, maybe they are doing this, but just fully implement the map customization features that they put into CyberPunk.
I think that,
I mean,
that
you
they
could
did.
literally, you could literally make the map whatever you want, and that's what it should be. So if you can turn off the question marks, I mean, that's dope, because it was like somebody ate question mark salad and then puked it onto a fucking map, and that's what it looked like whenever you would open up the map.
So much content.
There's so many of them. If you've never played The Witcher Wild Hunt, The Witcher 3, just like once you get past the first little area and you get into the main map, just pull it up and there's just like question marks everywhere. It's like the fucking Riddler pissed all over the map. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
really really bad. But it is cool. Like a lot of that stuff is really fun content to play.
Yeah.
But it's just overwhelming. Is all I'm getting at.
I think if I play it again, I'm gonna go tight crop camera meets no question mark on the map. Try to mainline the main story and just hit up random encounters as they happen.
Just do it Elden Ring style. Just come across shit and
Exactly.
And if it interests you, do it.
Yeah. I think that's going to be my approach, and I'm surely going to fucking get back into that game. I'm scared of it, though, because I just know what it did to me. All right, next news point. This is the best news story that we're going to talk about today. And it's the best news story that hits this week, maybe this month, and maybe even for the year. Sony has sent letters to developers about a policy change that will reduce games like Stroke the Tortoise, Jesus, I screwed up this news point, from being included on the PSN, or the Jumping Banana, or whatever the fuck they are. I called them Trophyware. Some people call it Shovelware. They're clearly put on the PlayStation Store just so people can earn trophies. And I think maybe part of them doing this now is because they have the PlayStation Rewards program back. And they don't want people fucking buying these games and unlocking trophies and upping their status when it's not rightly earned. So, there will be extra steps taken to eliminate the release of Trophyware or Shovelware games. Any games found to fall under this list, deemed by Sony, may be subject to restricted discoverability, only able to be found via direct links. They could be delisted from the PS Store. Sony could refuse publication of the game, and the developer who submitted the game could be suspended and or terminated from the PSN. So good on you, Sony. Now walk the fucking walk, reclaim your storefront, and fucking get rid of this shit. So I'm excited about this. I think this is awesome. They've already taken some actions on the PlayStation Store where the most interesting games or whatever show up now. I forget how they were rating the storefront so that all that shit got buried. They did an algorithm change so that all those Trophyware things got tucked away, but they're still there, right? And they still pop up. They're taking it to the next level, and they're saying, listen, we can just refuse to accept your shit now. And I hope they vet these fucking developers and they just fucking be gone with them. And I hope they take some of the shit off the PSN. Anyways, opinions?
Yeah, what they should do is they should delist all of the games that fall under that category, and then...
Remember that game called Baseball? That had something about God in the thing I told you about? It's so fucking bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not necessarily someone who's going to sit here and say you maybe shouldn't be allowed to put your shit on the store, but it shouldn't be visible, and it shouldn't be like... It like you should if it falls under this whatever this category is that they're coming up with, then I think that you should have to have like a direct link, like they're saying, to be able to download one of these games. You shouldn't be able to just find it. Now, personally, I think that it should just be removed from the store altogether. I don't think that you should be allowed to buy this shit on PlayStation, especially if the Sony Rewards program is happening. But it depends. How much does Sony really care? Because let's say one platinum trophy grants you a $5 or whatever, but one of these games costs $8, then it doesn't really matter because Sony's not losing any money on it. But like they are losing some, right? But I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I hope that they just, I don't know. I feel like they should just do a cleansing.
Yeah, I think the integrity of the PSN store, the PlayStation Store, is compromised when you have it just littered with bullshit like this. It's like going down the highway and just seeing all these fucking Big Mac wrappers everywhere in fry boxes, in aluminum cans. It's like, okay, you took all this time building this fucking highway, this fucking medium for people to get from point A to point B, to get to where they want to get. But along the way, you got to fucking look at all this bullshit. And it's like, you have the way to filter this stuff out. Just start getting rid of it. Like, it's your store. It's your store. It's no one else's. Like, you run that store. You do what you need to do. That's my opinion. I'm done. I'm talking about, I think it's great news, and I hope it fucking happens. Just
Yes.
be prepared for when the CyberPunk DLC comes out and it's got the best song in the world on it. Make sure that's up front and center on your store. So I want people to listen to that shit. No, I'm kidding. All right, let's move on to the next news point. We're almost through with the show here, and man, what a great morning. PlayStation, Jake. They are continuing to fight Microsoft in their acquisition or their attempted acquisition to get Activision Blizzard, for fear that acquiring the studio behind Call of Duty could severely damage the PlayStation brand. In a quote, Sony publicly indicates that this acquisition would take an irreplaceable gaming franchise, Call of Duty, out of independent hands and combine it with Microsoft's highly successful gaming system, Xbox, leading multi-game subscription service, Game Pass, dominant PC operating system, Windows, and leading cloud platform, Azure. The only way to preserve robust competition and protect consumers and independent developers is to ensure Activision remains independently owned and controlled, end quote. Let me just say one little thing. Sony, I think, are kind of a little bit off the rocker here because they went completely faceless, tactless, and they 100% tore Battlefield a new asshole. And they stated, quote, Electronic Arts, one of the largest third-party developers after Activision, has tried for many years to produce a rival to Call of Duty with its Battlefield series. And then it says, there's like an ellipses, despite the similarities between Call of Duty and Battlefield, and despite EA's track record in developing other successful AAA franchises such as FIFA, Mass Effect, Need for Speed, and Star Wars Battlefront, the Battlefield franchise cannot keep up. As of August of 2021, more than 400 million Call of Duty games had been sold. Battlefield had sold just 88.7 million copies, end quote. They're throwing fucking Battlefield under the bus to try to prove a point that Xbox should not be allowed to purchase Call of Duty, because Sony's like, don't leave us with just fucking Battlefield. Which is fucking hilarious. So what EA's probably thinking right now is, fuck you, Sony. You know, like, they're probably so mad at Sony for saying this shit. They're airing out some dirty laundry. They're just fucking like, it's just rude. Like, they're fucking on, they're pulling out all the fucking punches, dude.
I don't know. I don't know if it's really that big of a deal unless they're
I mean, it's factual.
Well, what would really be a problem is if they were posting sales data about Battlefield that was not public.
Sure.
Now, if they were doing that, that would be a dick fucking move. But if they're just saying shit that's legit, you know, they're kind of saying at the same time, you know, these guys couldn't do it. How are we supposed to do it? Kind of thing.
Right.
They're trying to make themselves look better. Or
by
look
throwing
worse,
someone else under the bus,
by saying that even they couldn't do it, and they're
so awesome
EA.
at this shit. They've done this, and this,
so,
and they couldn't fucking do it. How are we supposed to do it right without Call of Duty? Right.
So I don't know. I'm just, dude. Every time I see a freaking news article about this, I just zone out. I can't care anymore.
I think they're cutting their nose off despite their face, man. At this point, it's just like, dude, they're gonna fucking do what they're gonna do, right? It doesn't matter what. Who knows? I mean, is it possible that they're going to be denied the opportunity to purchase Activision Blizzard? Is it possible?
I mean, it's possible, yeah, but I don't know how. I mean, to me, it just seems like really if Microsoft is just taking as much time as they possibly can to avoid guaranteeing Call of Duty on PlayStation forever.
Yeah.
If they were to come out and say, like, yeah, Call of Duty is going to be on PlayStation forever, I think that it would completely bypass the issues with this deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess we'll have to see if that ever happens.
Oh, man.
But for now, we just gotta keep reading these news stories about, Sony freaking crying and Xbox just wondering what the hell they got to do to get this thing through the door.
Well,
but I don't know.
They're just complaining.
It's wild.
I think they have every right to be concerned. But I mean, life's not fucking fair, man. Like, sometimes you lose. Like, that's unfortunately the situation at times. Like, do they think it's not fair? Yeah. Do a lot of people probably feel like it's not 100% fair that Microsoft has all this fucking money and they can just buy up these companies? Yeah, it's not fucking cool. But that is the way of the fucking world, right? That is how things work. And you can complain all you want, and you can throw your fit, and you can say this, that, and the other. You're only making yourself look worse in public. The optics are so much worse. No one feels bad for Sony. No one's like, oh, poor Sony. They're not going to fucking, they're going to have to deal with this. No one feels that way. They just look like babies. And it's just like, just shut up and just let the fucking thing take hold. Like, and that's come from someone who recently was reinvigorated by Call of Duty. Like, dude, like, it's just like, fucking stop. Like, you look stupid. You look selfish. You look entitled. And you can say this thing about, like, how it's not fair to the market and how it's not fair to consumers and all this bullshit. But we all know, at the end of the day, the only thing Sony cares about is being able to sell that game on their platform. That's it. They really don't care about the consumers. They just want they want a piece of the cake. That's it. They really don't care, because I don't think there's a lot of Sony gamers who are like, oh, fuck, what are we going to do? Because Xbox has been transparent that they're going to keep it as long as there's a PlayStation, they're going to keep the Call of Duty games available on PlayStation. But Sony's concern is Call of Duty is going to hit Games Pass, and it's going to be fucking free across the board on Games Pass, and people are going to jump ship and they're going to go to Xbox because of Call of Duty. And I think that's a legit concern. So, but again, it's not a fair world, man. Figure something out. Do something else. Do something more innovative to keep people, right? Do something. I don't know. Instead of just complaining, fucking do something.
Yeah.
Make a fucking game that's better. Do it. You're fucking Sony. Make a fucking better game.
Just who cares about Call of Duty is what I gotta say. A lot of people, but
make a game and call it Fall of Duty.
Yeah,
Fall of Duty.
The thing is that I think that maybe a little bit too is that Sony was able to get Destiny, but they had to sign a fucking deal that said that Bungie could Sony couldn't keep Bungie from releasing that on any platform they wanted to.
Right.
So maybe they want a similar kind of thing for Call of Duty, because it's like, well, if we're not going to monopolize our big shooter, then you shouldn't be able to monopolize yours, and we should have some kind of assurance.
Right. I think the issue is that they're concerned it's going to be offered free. Every Call of Duty game is going to be free on fucking Game Pass.
Well, it's going to be free no matter what. I mean, that is what it is. I mean, Sony, I think at this point, the only thing that the only chance that they have is of maybe securing that it will be released on PlayStation indefinitely. But I don't think that they're gonna win any arguments by saying that, oh, if it goes to Xbox, it's going to be free. I mean, that's just that. There's nothing about that really is argumentative enough, I think, in like a legal setting that would prevent it from them being acquired. But I would say that because Microsoft could be like, well, it's available on Sony, and it's not free on Xbox. You have to pay for the subscription to have access to it.
Right.
So like it's just a matter of Sony just trying to secure that it's on PlayStation forever. And if they do that, then I don't think that everybody is going to jump ship just because it's free on Game Pass. If it's, you have to buy a whole nother console.
There's a barrier of entry, right? There's an admission fee.
So if you already have a PS5, why are you going to buy a whole nother console? Now, they might be fighting for the next generation, which is fine.
Yeah.
But,
I'll say this. Dude, playing Warzone with the fucking triggers. What's that called again? When they haptic? No, it's not
adaptive triggers.
Adaptive. So fucking awesome, dude. Shooting an LMG in Call of Duty Warzone and seeing the tracer rounds going off and your fingers and you shoot him like a gun. It's like it's so rad, and it's so much. I know some people don't like it. It is 100% up my alley. It just, the guns feel fucking different. They feel different on the controller. And I love that, dude. The sniper weapons, a little more resistance when you're pulling the fucking trigger. So fucking awesome. I don't care if it gets me dead. It's just so cool. And keep that shit. And that's something you're not going to get on Xbox. So fucking stick around, Sony boys and girls. No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad that you like that, and a lot of people love it. I always turn them off.
Yeah.
I always turn them off because it's just my hands hurt enough when I play with the DualSense controller. I don't know why it is. I think it's just because it's bigger. But if I play for more than a couple hours, my hands start to hurt. But yeah, especially if I'm doing a lot of shooting and stuff, having to have that extra weight pull in and like your timing's off and all that stuff, it's not really my thing. But I will admit that it is very cool.
It's immersive as shit.
It feels very cool when you use it, for sure.
It's immersive, really immersive. Speaking of which, I did get my new controller and I like it. I got the red one. But anyways, let's move on to, we got one more news point. We'll get into the games, new games coming out. This news point is SIFU, the game that I haven't played that I really wanted to try, was getting a really cool update to the game on a patch. And I think a lot of games should incorporate this, what they're doing. You can save gameplay replays and then edit it like a feature film. Do different cuts, do different things, and then export it as a file. It would be so cool to have the ability to do this in more games. Just because like you could almost make like a trailer or like a mini movie. I want to say that the Grand Theft Auto games on the PC, you could do this with some of the editing software. But to be able to just, okay, boom, you do a segment and then go back in and go to video replay or something, and then have complete control over like a video editor where you can do a close-up shot and then cut to a wide shot and then blur the background and then just follow the character behind their shoulder as they're walking to the next fight. It seems awesome. And I just thought this was a nice little update this game was getting. I saw an example of what you can do with it, and it's really fucking impressive. It's you can like stylize it, and it looks like a trailer almost for the game. So neat. I wish more games had this. That's all. I don't know. Have any of our listeners played SIFU? I know I haven't. Jake, you haven't played it. It's one of those games that was interesting to me, but I never got into it and never got it. But I thought that was a really nice touch from the developer.
Yeah.
All right.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. That game's got a lot of style, so I can imagine people being really into making little videos of it.
Yeah. Let's get into new games. So, it's been a while since we've had some great games, and I would say we're kind of still there. I think obviously RAGNAROK was the most recent one, and this week we got Evil West, which is a AA game. But November 22nd, Evil West, Gungrave Gore, Gore, Just Dance 2023 edition, Saint Kotar, Ship of Fools. November 23rd, Dead Station, Finding the Soul Orb, Trifox. November 24th, Cleopatra Fortune S Tribute, Marsupilami, Hoob Adventure, New Joe and Mac, Caveman Ninja, and November 25th, Bleak Dystopia, Do Not Open, Furry Tangram Light, Horse Club Adventures 2, Hazelwood Stories, How to Fool a Liar King Remastered, Snake vs. Snake, Super Panda, and Unicorn Fun. I'm curious about Unicorn Fun. That sounds like a Shovelware Trophyware title. I'm just saying.
So, other than Evil West and Just Dance, there's like nothing. Is there anything of value on this list? I mean, I'm sure that some of this stuff is okay, but like, I've never heard of any of these games other than those two that I just mentioned.
Yeah, Unicorn Fun. I don't know what that is. Sounds like it might be up my alley. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know any of these. The Gungrave GORE has a cool title, and I don't know what that is. I'm gonna look real quick.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It is. It looks pretty rad, based on different images that I'm seeing of the box art. It looks like it's possibly a third-person action game, and yeah, it looks kind of like samurai, but also guns, and very, very Japanese. So I don't know. Anyways, yeah, those are the list, man. Jake, do you have anything that you'd like to talk about before we close out for the show?
Nah. I think I'm good.
Yeah, nothing?
No, I got some. I did a little bit of. I never do Black Friday shopping for other people. I only ever do it for myself.
Yeah, same.
And because generally, like, if I'm buying something for someone, I have a specific idea of what I want, and unless it's like a specific thing, usually whatever it is not available on Black Friday. So, and I don't really go out shopping anymore, but one of the things that I do is every year I do an annual trip to Home Depot. I like to scour like the remains of Home Depot at like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning after everybody's kind of gone through and killed each other.
On Black Friday. Did you go?
Yeah. And I went yesterday, and I ended up buying a miter saw and a saw stand because it was like super cheap. Basically, you buy a compound sliding miter saw and get a free stand with it, which is amazing. And I also bought some batteries and stuff for my cordless tools. But other than that,
those things are pretty pricey,
dude. Yeah, they are. So like, but on Black Friday, there's usually like some kind of a deal where it's like, okay, if you buy the batteries, you get like a free tool or something like that.
That's cool.
So that's kind of what I did. But other than that, I didn't really do much other than that kind of thing. So
yeah, I didn't get a whole lot.
Some house stuff to do.
Yeah, I got a SanDisk 2 gigabyte external SSD drive for like $120, which wasn't bad. And
2 gigabyte or terabyte?
Terabyte. What'd I say? Gigabyte?
Yeah.
I meant terabyte. Yeah. 2 gigabytes. Back in the day would have been something. No, just because my Mac, I get these notifications. So the Mac has a backup system. And the nice thing about Macs is it has like this thing that you can just, it's called like the Wayback Machine or something. Like you can just fucking go in and revert everything back to a time prior. It just randomly has different save states, and it saves all this data on your fucking external if you're backing up your computer the way you should. And I have so much important music stuff on here, projects I'm working on and stuff, and different podcast episodes, video stuff I have on here, performance stuff, logos, different things that I use for my different projects. And I haven't done a proper backup because my current Seagate external hard drive doesn't have enough space on it to back up my fucking computer, right? So I needed an external to do a proper backup. I haven't had my computer backed up in over 1,000 days, and it tells me this, and it's long overdue. So I picked up this external. I did see some internal SSD stuff for the PS5, and I thought about it, but I didn't do it. I just, I can just continue to delete games. Not a big deal. It's not worth it to me. But yeah, so I bought that, and then I don't think I really got anything else for Black Friday. I thought about getting one of those Ring cameras for our doorbell, because we don't have a doorbell that works, so I was going to do like a twofer. We had, I don't know, my neighbor wrote recently, we were gone for Thanksgiving, we came back. He said he heard some noise between our houses around like 11:30 and thought maybe I was coming back from a gig and moving equipment. I definitely wasn't. I was here. I didn't hear anything. But when I had Charlie out back, he was like sniffing between the houses. So there definitely was somebody or something between the houses a couple nights ago. We have a gate that goes into our backyard, so you can't really get back there unless you unfasten the gate and get back into our shit. But I do have all this music studio stuff down here. So I thought it might not be a bad idea to get a Ring doorbell or something that might be able to catch. I thought about putting a game camera up, just to fucking put one up, one of those night vision ones. But I haven't done that. I'm not a paranoid person, but we've had cars get broken into in our neighborhood. You know, like last year, I think there was some. Not that they were getting jimmied open or anything. It's just if people left their cars unlocked, you know, crime of opportunities would happen. But I don't like the idea of people sniffing around. And there's no business for anyone to be between my house and my neighbor's house that doesn't live here. Like, there's just no fucking reason for it. So I don't know what that was about. So we've been leaving our lights on and stuff outside, and I hate doing that because it runs up your electric bill. But I didn't get the doorbell ring thing because I don't have electricity going to the doorbell spot. They used to have a battery one, so I'd have to run some sort of fucking wire. There's old wiring there, but I don't think it's active. So those things are kind of a pain in the ass if your house isn't wired for it. So I don't know. I thought about getting some sort of security thing for the house, but I don't want to fucking spend the money. I don't know. It is what it is. Do you have any security cameras or anything for your place?
I have a whole security system in our house.
Do you really?
Yeah. Yeah, so like the doors, you know, you arm it when you're not
what?
home at night, and if you open the door, it'll set off the alarm.
What the fuck does that cost? Like, you don't have to tell me now on publicly, but I'm just curious. You know what I mean? It's not cheap,
I have a Simply Safe system, and the monthly fee is pretty cheap. It's like $20 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
And you know, the hardware itself is not super cheap, but I bet you've spent more.
Did you install it yourself?
Yeah, it's super easy. And it works pretty good. The only thing is that like where I'm at, it's cellular based. So you have to make sure you have the right card in the receiver. If you live in an area that like I think the default one is T-Mobile or something like that, and like where we're at, there isn't really any T-Mobile service, so I had to switch it out for a Verizon one, which was fine. But it's neat because it's not just like the door entry sensors or the window sensors or anything like that that'll set off the alarm. If like one of our smoke detectors goes off or the carbon dioxide detector goes off, all that stuff's tied in too.
Jesus.
So they'll dispatch fire trucks and shit like that for you.
I'd be scared of fucking setting that thing off like on accident.
Well, you can, and I mean you just have to. They'll call you first.
Yeah.
And if you don't answer, then they'll dispatch somebody.
Yeah.
But I only have one camera. I was thinking about getting some more, but if you buy the problem is that the Simply Safe cameras are pretty expensive. But if you buy them, they tie into your system as well. So if somebody like breaks into your house, the cameras will automatically turn on, and you can like essentially attach it to like an alarm or something like that, so that like if somebody busts through your front door and you have a camera inside that's showing like your living room or something like that, it'll automatically turn on and record the fucking burglar coming into your house and doing whatever the hell he's doing.
Yeah. And
then they also have the outdoor ones and stuff too, like you're talking about with the Ring doorbells and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I got lucky. My dad, when they bought their house in Florida, he ordered a security system for it because that's what he uses. Yeah. And by just like shit luck, they sent him 2 of them.
That's fucking awesome.
So he was just like, "Do you want this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he just took the sensors that he wanted out of it, and I had to buy some extra ones myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just especially because like where we're at,
you're in the middle of nowhere, dude. If something were to happen,
like. Yeah, I don't have a neighbor that's gonna be like, "Oh, someone's breaking into your house." Like,
you're just never gonna know. My house.
Yeah. So like, either I'm gonna be home. To be completely honest with you, I mean the most important thing is like we use it when we're sleeping at night.
Yeah.
Because it's like if I'm not home and somebody breaks into my house and steals my shit, okay, that sucks. But nobody's in danger really, unless they like kill my dogs or something.
Material
like that.
shit. Your dogs would fucking wake up, I would think.
Yeah, but like if we're home and someone forces themselves into our house, that's a different story. You know, I don't want to have to go Rambo on some fucking stranger.
Dude, the last thing you want to have to do is kill someone. Yeah, right. Or shoot at somebody.
I don't know. It's scary. I mean, and because of the way that the world is now and the economy and all kinds of shit, people get desperate and they do things that they shouldn't do. And usually it's like you're talking about crimes of opportunity where somebody will just open an unlocked car and take shit out of it, you know, a phone or something.
Right.
Because,
check a handle and see.
Yeah, but not many people are willing to actually break into somebody's house, but it does happen.
It does happen, yeah, for sure. But yeah, we live in a pretty crime-free area. But yeah, man, I don't know. I still might be getting some fucking setup. I know that Amazon has some cameras that all tie together. I forget what they're called. Blink cameras, I think. My parents have a Blink system, and they're, you know, they don't set off any alarms or anything, but you'll get notifications on your phone. They detect movement when they're armed and stuff, and you'll just, you know, it saves the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, we've gone on too long about that. That's interesting. I didn't know that, but listeners, don't break into Jake's house because you'll either get shot or the cops are going to show up. So, or you might get mauled by a dog.
Yeah.
So he's got it pretty good on lockdown. If you're going to take advantage of either of us, try to come here. We'll see what happens. All right. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in to episode 251 of PS. This is awesome. We appreciate you guys. We hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. We'll be back next week, as always, with episode 252. Hopefully, at that point, we'll have made more progress through God of War, Ragnarok, and then Jake and I are going to make a point to get a spoiler cast of Ragnarok when we're done with that and get back on that Mass Effect 2 train. So, apologies again, it hasn't happened, but I've been doing way more important shit, like recording a song for CyberPunk, so that's all I got to say. It's not going to get taken, dude. They're not going to take it. But if they fucking do, I'm going to be so stoked. All right, with that being said, like F1 22... Far Cry 6, and Firewall Ultra. P.S. This is awesome.
Awesome.